Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am coming back with you today with another student video. I haven't filmed a student video in such a long time and I thought it was about time that I did another one. Obviously it's the beginning of the year. People would have applied to UCAS, finding out if they're going to uni, when they're going, or potentially looking at options if they're in their first or second year of A-levels, and considering where to go and preparing to do their exams and potentially go to uni in September. So I thought, why not do another university video? So today's video is going to be a Nottingham Trent University Survival Guide Part 2. My survival guide part 1, which obviously wasn't meant to be a part 1 and a part 2, but the first video that I made is my most viewed videos. That has got, I think, 2.6k views, which might not sound like a lot, but in comparison to the amount of views that my normal video gets, which is like, I don't know, 40, that's a lot of views. And that video still gets comments on all the time, and I made it last summer. So I thought, why not do an updated version of this video and also answer some of the questions that I'm getting a lot of comments about the same sort of topics from my first video. So if you're interested in Nottingham Trent University, you're thinking about going there this year or next year, then this video is definitely for you. So I have actually been a lot more prepared. I've done a lot of research because some of the topics I'm going to be talking about don't apply to me, but they are questions that have been asked a lot, and I wanted to make sure that I've done my research so you guys are informed. So I've done a little PowerPoint presentation. That's how sad I am. But I mean, it's not sad, it's just information gathering for you guys. But this video is going to be broken down into information for international students, because I had a lot of comments on my first video about international students being afraid of making friends, what opportunities and what services they offer at Nottingham Trent University. And I actually had a message about racism as well. So not that I can talk from that standpoint, but I can find activities, I can find services, and I can find little places that Nottingham Trent University offer and things that they offer to help people from all over the world, international students, different cultures, come together and hopefully feel a lot more welcome and settled coming to a new place and a new university. So that's the first part, is the international students. The second part of this video, I had a lot of comments as well about accommodation. And although I did briefly touch on accommodation in my first part of the video, I didn't really know all of the names of the types of accommodation, where's best to go, prices, how far they are from the city, from Clifton. So in this video I've broken it down into student halls for Clifton, student halls for the city centre, and private accommodation for the city and private accommodation for Clifton campus. And they are broken down into prices per week and how far they are from the city centre. And I will be popping up pictures in this video as well, so you can get to grips of the type of accommodations that you can get for your money. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So my first point that I wanted to talk about in this video, specifically for Nottingham Trent, is about international students. And I will link down below a couple of links throughout this video in terms of websites to visit, things that you can look at, especially with the accommodation, where's best to look. But the first thing I wanted to touch on is the international students and how they will be, and you will be affected if you are international students by coming to Nottingham Trent in these COVID pandemic times. I'm not going to go into any detail about it in this video because to be completely honest, I don't really know what it is that I'm talking about. I just googled international students at Nottingham Trent University, and this is one of the first things that popped up. I think maybe a lot of students are curious about how Nottingham Trent are dealing with COVID for international students, for visa, immigration, accommodation, and all those sorts of things. So definitely check the description box, because I've left a couple of links there and it will take you to pages, Nottingham Trent's pages talking about those topics. So that's the first thing that I just wanted to say, is if you're curious, if you're worried about potentially you're in a different country and you're wanting to come over to England and study at Nottingham Trent University, and you're worried about how that will work with visas and with COVID, then check the description box because I've found some information there for you. The second topic that I wanted to cover in terms of the international students is that we have, well, I say we have, I'm no longer a student at Nottingham Trent. I graduated in 2019. But the first thing I want to talk about is they have a really great service and a really great place called the Global Lounge. And I personally never went, but it was right next to one of my studying rooms, like one of my study buildings for law, because I studied business law. And so it's right next to there. It's opposite the Boots Library. If you know Nottingham at all, obviously I'm assuming if you're an international student, you don't really know Nottingham at all. But opposite the main library in the city centre, there is a cafe and a place called the Global Lounge. And the Global Lounge, and I'm just reading from my presentation, says it is to internationalise your CV and broaden your horizons. And although you can't go to the Global Lounge right now, they are actually offering activities and welcome events online. So it's called the Virtual Global Lounge, and the activities they're actually offering at the minute are connect lunches, so you can meet people, connect with people online like you would in the lounge, but obviously everything's being moved to virtual learning and talking to people online. So if you're looking at doing a connect lunch and talking and getting to know people before you go to uni, that is on Mondays from 12 until 2. That's obviously British time. I think that's a really great way if you're worried about how you're going to connect with people, how are you going to make friends, what if there's nobody like you there. I'm sure there's a lot of people that you're going to find that are like you, from the same places as you, that feel exactly the same because they're all in the same boat. So I think a connect lunch could be a really great idea, obviously because we can't do the official welcome weeks. And I guess these virtual events are really great as well because it gives you an insight online what it's going to be like when you eventually come over and study here. So you've got the Connect lunches. You also have the Language Cafe. So on Tuesdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Thursdays 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. They have little activities where you can learn different languages or potentially use your own native language with people online. And they also offer a service called Language in Tandem. So it's two people meeting, and the person you're paired with is you're always paired with a native speaking person. So say for example, I wanted to learn Spanish, so I would be paired with someone that is a native Spanish fluent speaker who's wanting to improve their English. So we kind of use each other, learn languages. I will learn Spanish, they will learn English, and we help each other learning languages. And you do it in a cafe, you can sit and chat, and just another way to make friends. And potentially you could teach someone your native language whilst you're getting better grips with English, or perhaps you're teaching somebody else and it might be someone that is from your native country, just to improve their English a little bit more, and potentially you learn a different language at the same time. So that is another service that the Global Lounge offers, and like I said, they are doing the virtual Global Lounge at the moment. The next activity that they're offering in the Global Lounge is a games afternoon, and this takes place from 3 p.m. till 5 p.m. And that's on Wednesdays, and Fridays 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. And again, another way to connect with people, make friends. I think I mentioned in one of my university series that a really great way to connect with people is to go on Facebook and search the accommodation that you're hoping to stay in. So say I stayed in Peveril Block. Say it's Peveril Block S flat 17, for example, and that way you find the people that you're going to be living with. And it's the same with the type of course that you're doing. You can go on Facebook, type in business law 2021 till 2024 or something like that. And then you'll find the people that you're going to be studying with and then create a WhatsApp chat. But this is very similar in the sense that you have a games afternoon and you're connecting with other international students or potentially are local, and then you can connect as an international student to a national student and then have that connection and potentially feel a lot more comfortable and welcomed. I think from the general consensus of the comments that I've seen on one of my first videos, I think international students are potentially feeling, if I had to imagine how I would feel, very worried about how I was going to fit in. Is there a lot of cultural barriers? Is there a lot of cultural differences? Is there potentially a language barrier? How can I connect with people? Yeah, and I can imagine it's an extremely scary time and people feeling quite vulnerable. And if I was an international student, I would love to hear that they've got a global lounge where I can go and speak to other potentially English students and connect with them online and feel a little bit more secure in the knowledge that I've spoken to some people before I go to uni. So you've got the games afternoon, which is a way to connect with people. You've also got a book club on Fridays, 1 p.m. till 2 p.m. And one thing that was massive at uni, well, what I definitely remember stands out to me, is they do a global week, and this takes place in the later part of April, like the last week of April. And this is a huge festival that Nottingham Trent University puts on specifically for international students and for international students to celebrate their cultures, languages, and traditions. So, just a bit of information, it says showcasing lots of yummy foods, traditional dresses, and it's a good way to connect with people from the same culture and country as you when you're away from home. And Global Week is home to approximately 5,200 EU and international students from around 160 countries. So, in our main city building, there was, and I know that they do this on Clifton campus as well, because you've got the two campuses, you've got City campus and Clifton campus, and where you're based is based off where you are, what degree you're studying. So, example, the business and law side of things was in the city, and the more humanities and social sciences, that's humanities, but and maths and those sort of things were on Clifton campus. But the two campuses are very similar. They do the same. They do the same things, but just in different areas. But talking from the city campus, that's where I studied. Um, Global Week was huge, and it was the whole of the downstairs of the main building, Newton, was completely full of, I don't even know how many stalls, but every stall was dedicated to each individual country or culture or tradition. So one that really stands out is the African Caribbean stalls. Obviously, they showcase a lot of the food, and obviously, things are going to be different with COVID, and potentially moving it onto a virtual global week, showcasing different traditional dresses and foods. But yeah, one thing that stood out was the African Caribbean, because you have a lot of the like jerk chicken, plantain, and they're showcasing the traditional foods, and everyone's wearing traditional dress wear, and it's just a really great way as an international student to potentially get a little taste of home and to showcase that to other people as well. In doing so, you can connect with people that are from the same place as you, or see different cultures, different traditions, and really opens your eyes as to how many different international students Nottingham Trent University actually has, because it's insane how many stalls are there. It's honestly so crazy, and it's the best thing because it's the most colourful week ever. It's so good. So I hope that gives a little bit of peace of mind for international students, in the sense that there is somewhere you can go. Obviously you can go everywhere, but if you're specifically looking for somewhere that celebrates your being an international student, the Global Lounge does that. And the Language Cafe, and then we also have Global Week, which will be coming up in April. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think a lot of international students were worried about is the social aspects. Like I mentioned before, are you going to be able to make friends? Are people going to understand you? Are you going to understand them? Is there going to be cultural barriers, language barriers, and just is it going to be too different that you're not going to feel as though you're not going to make friends or fit in? But I knew that there were loads of different societies at uni, and if you haven't heard of them before, essentially a society is like a club. So you join this club and you can join at any point in your degree, whether it's first year or third year, and they have societies for everything and anything. There is like a cheese society, a cocktail society, a pole dancing society. So there's obviously a lot of societies when it comes to international students. So examples that I've found is there's a Korean society, there's a African Caribbean community, there's a Christian community, a Spanish community. So you can imagine there is a community for all types of students, international or national, and whatever your interests are, whether that's culturally, your faith, interests, hobbies. And the way that you join the society is you go on NTSU website, so that's Nottingham Trent Student Union, and you can search any kind of society, and it'll come up and you join that society and you're put into a group then of like-minded people that have an interest in that society, and then you have events or potentially make really good friends, and from that you really can establish similarities between people. And like I said, you have these events, so potentially you go out together, you have coffees together, you might even end up living with these people if you have really strong interests and build really good friendships. And especially as an international student, accommodation is really important, because you're potentially staying there a lot longer than any other student. And what I mean by that is a lot of international students didn't go home in the Easter breaks or at Christmas. Some students didn't go home over Christmas because home was too far away. So if you make friends with people within the community and societies, and from the same sort of places as you, or at least other international students, you're not going to be on your own in these student halls and these apartments around those times, because like I said, not everybody goes home because home is too far away. Um, so if you join these societies and make friends and discover and have similar interests, I think it gives you a little bit of peace of mind that there's like-minded people and people that are similar to you. So that's one thing I really would suggest is, if you're an international student looking to go to Nottingham Trent, the societies that we offer is so vast, so varied, and most people are in a society. I actually didn't join one, but that was because I felt as if I didn't have the time to commit. But if I was an international student, I definitely would want to connect with people that were similar to me. Um, and it might be that you have multiple interests and you can join multiple societies. You just come together and talk about the thing that you love and the society that you're in. And yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of peace of mind that you can enjoy society. And again, make friends, talk with people online, and it sort of prepares you a little bit for when you go to uni, you know that you've at least got one friend, because that gave me a lot of peace of mind using the Facebook sites, even to go. I mean, I'm not moving countries. I literally moved 40 minutes up the road, and it gave me a lot of peace of mind when I had found people that I was living with and people that were on my course, and messaging them, and we were all in the same boat together. And I can imagine if you're moving countries, that is even more important. And if you have something that you can talk to people and you have similarities, that it's a bit of a comfort blanket knowing that, okay, there's like at least one person that I know that I'm going to get on with. Another point that I put in here is I had had a few messages about racism, and like I mentioned before, I can't speak from the viewpoint of someone who might fear racism, and I know that I'm very privileged that I don't have that fear. Uh, but being an international student, there is many societies, like I said, global weeks, global lounge, inclusive services and resources for international students to feel welcome and also connect with people in the same position that they are in. And I hope that by showing that we have all these different resources and services to make people feel inclusive, that we wouldn't want to single anybody out, or there's no discrimination or equality, and everybody's inclusive. So I hope that makes sense and makes people feel a little more relaxed. And that is all the information that I did find for international students. Like I said, I'm not speaking from the viewpoint, I can't talk from the viewpoint as somebody that has experienced these things, because I studied 40 minutes away from where I lived. I'm not an international student, but it was a big question that a lot of people had asked. On my first video was about international students, and they're worried about the accommodation and what it was going to be like getting there. So I hope that first part has answered some of these, and this next part hopefully will answer the rest of those queries and potential worries. So this is about accommodation. And like I said, I briefly touched on it in my first video, but I want this second half to be a lot more informative and for you to really see the huge array of different accommodations that Nottingham Trent University offer in terms of student halls, and then the different accommodation that they have in terms of private. And most people in first year will do student halls, and then in second and third year will do private accommodation. Although I know people that stayed in student halls for the whole of the 3 years, and people that, well, people choose not to stay in accommodation as well. They study from home. So people choose a lot of different pathways. And I just wanted to give a little bit more context and information about different types of accommodation. So in terms of accommodation for the city centre, and these are the types of accommodation that I found from the student NTU website, and there will be a link in the description to find the different types of accommodation and to look through the pictures and the price points, what facilities they offer and how far away they are from campuses and supermarkets. All that information is on the website, but I'm just going to give you a couple of the names and price points of student accommodation in the city. So from the website I found the first one is called Blenheim, probably said that wrong, and this is student halls, and you can have this accommodation from £131.88 a week. I must say that I hadn't heard of this accommodation when I was at uni, but it's 1 mile from campus. It's not an on-campus student accommodation. That's probably why I hadn't heard of it. So that is the first one. Hopefully there's some pictures here so you can get a general gist of what the accommodation looks like, and the price point for the most part does reflect the type of accommodation that you're going to get. You have price points that go from just over £100 per week to about £170, £180 per week, and some go even more than that. And that can vary from having a single bed and a shared bathroom at the lower end to having a double bed and an ensuite at the higher point. And for some of these as well, you actually have like one bed apartments. You've got the whole apartment to yourself, which will probably be more beneficial if you're perhaps a postgraduate or mature student because you don't want to share, or if you just have that preference and you don't particularly want to share with strangers. I get that. But the price points for the most part do reflect what kind of accommodation you're going to get. So that's the first one. The second one, which I have heard of, is called Byron, and Byron is again student halls, which is on campus. And Byron you can get from in between £144.41 to £160.44 per week. Student accommodation is not cheap. You will see this reflected in the price. It might sound like a lot, and like I said, but hopefully some of the pictures explain why some are more expensive, and also location does have a big factor. The closer they are to the campus, the more expensive they are because it's just more practical. And you can see, and the further that you come out, and I will put a map at the end of this where you can see the actual campus and then the perimeter around it in terms of like a 5 to 10 minute walk where the student halls are. Then it goes to like a 25-minute, 45-minute, and you can see the ones that are within a 45-minute walk radius are the ones that are going to be cheaper just because they're further away and less convenient. So the price points do reflect, again, the facilities that you've got and location. So Byron is on campus and it's obviously more expensive than Blenheim because it is a lot closer to campus, and this is for city, just to remind you. The next type of accommodation is Gill Street North, which is halls, again on campus, and you can get this for between £111.58p to £178.85p a week. The next type is Gill Street South, again, halls on campus, and this is about £160.44 a week. The next type of city accommodation is Camden, Hamden, and this is again student halls on campus for £113.26 per week. And then the rest I haven't heard of, which is Meriden Court, which is 2 miles from campus, and this is on the cheaper side. So this is £100.73 a week to about £106.96 per week. Then you've got Norton Court, which is again 2 miles from campus at £131.88 a week. And then you've got Sandby, which I've not heard of, but someone did mention it in one of my other comments. This is an on-campus accommodation, and this is for £132.93 a week. Then you've got Simpson, which is 1.1 mile to campus, and you can get this for £102.06 per week. And then the last type of city accommodation on NTU's website is Moultons. There was actually no price on the website because I'm pretty sure this was being built whilst I was at uni, so it's still a very new type of accommodation. And I will just move on to a couple of pictures that should have popped up as I was talking about these types of accommodation. Gill Street North, Gill Street South were the more expensive type of accommodation. Not that they are necessarily a lot more luxury, but you can tell when you look at the cheaper ones. I think, let me just go back, I think it was maybe Hamden. I think it was Hamden when I looked around city accommodation. They've got the breezer blocks walls, and they really reminded me, not that they've ever been, but like a prison cell. Really felt caved in, it didn't feel homely at all, and to be honest, student halls don't feel homely. I've never lived in a flat, so that was different for me. And just the way that they're decorated, very just industrial, blue carpets, fire extinguishers on the wall, not very homely, but of course necessary. So Gill Street North, Gill Street South were quite expensive. Byron is a really cool building. It's again opposite the main library in the city centre, really close to campus. And it's kind of like a curved building. You've got all different colours on the outside, really funky, very light and bright. And then you've got Moultons. So I do have a picture of Moultons, and the interior looks very old fogey-ish. But again, I can't say I didn't look around it because it was being built whilst I was there. Or I think built or perhaps just refurnished, because I'm pretty sure it was an old factory that they've made into student accommodation. So yeah, that's just some ideas of student accommodation in the city centre for halls at least. So perhaps your first year you're looking at these types of accommodation. And the map that should be on the screen now shows you the city centre, city campus in the middle, and then you can see from the little orangey pink squares the accommodations. So in the first circle you've got 15-minute walk, and within those you've got Gill Street North, Gill Street South, Sandby, Hamden and Byron residents. So those four types of residencies, five are within a 15-minute walk to your city campus. And I think for some of them the price reflects that, and others like Hamden, even though it's a 15-minute walk convenient, the facilities that you get are perhaps just not as luxury as some of the others, and the price reflects that. It's convenient in terms of location, but the facilities lack because of that. And then the next circle you've got is a 25-minute walk, and within that the accommodations you've got is Simpson, Norton Court and Blenheim. And then the next one you've got a 45-minute walk / 20-minute bus journey, and within those you have got the Moultons is actually outside of that, and Meriden Court. So hopefully the map gives you a slight idea as to the types of accommodations, whether the price reflects facilities or location, and just how far away they are from the city campus. And people might decide to bring their car to uni, so the location isn't so much of an issue, so they can go further out because they'll just drive in. Or we have lots of trams, buses, really good bus links. I hope that helps a little bit with the visuals in terms of accommodation and how close they are to campus. So that was just a little bit about accommodation for this city. I got a lot of questions about accommodation for Clifton campus, um, specifically for private accommodation, which I will get onto. But for now, we're just talking about the student halls for Clifton campus. And there's actually only three, and the third one I haven't heard of at all. But the two that I had is New Hall, which is again halls, student residence, student halls on campus, between £153.86 a week to £169.61. New Halls was the other accommodation on the Clifton campus. I stayed in Peveril, and in comparison to the two, because I have seen both in person, one of my best friends lived in New Halls. Is New Hall is, like the name suggests, a lot more modern, newer residents, as opposed to Peveril. Peveril is older. I have nothing to really. I mean, they're not homely. They're not the most aesthetic, but they really just they serve a purpose. They're great if you're studying on a Clifton campus because you are, living where you're studying, very close. You just walk to and from campus. The only downside to Clifton campus is the bus route to go to and from the city. If you're studying on Clifton campus, it makes sense to stay on Clifton campus. So that's the first one, that's New Halls. Like I said, very nice. Probably the nicest student accommodation that I have been to. Just because, yeah, you do have the modern aspects to the accommodation. They have a really nice like living room area, like kitchen slash living area. Whereas Peveril, which is Peveril, again, student halls on campus, and you can get that from £134.89 a week to about £141.89 a week. Like I said, I did stay in Peveril, so I know firsthand what that accommodation is like. And the kitchen area was nice enough. You've got a breakfast bar that you can sit at and eat your meals. I want to say we had like bright purple kitchen cupboards, but I'm not sure. They were nice enough. They were okay. They were alright, but in comparison to New Hall, not as modern. And then the third type of accommodation on Clifton campus for students, on Nottingham Trent's website, is a place called College Drive. I honestly had never heard of that, considering I studied for a year on Clifton campus. And these are private housing student accommodation. And this is on campus, and you can get this from £94.68 a week to about £104.72 a week. A lot cheaper than in comparison to the other like student halls. Potentially because you're still on campus, but you're a little bit away from the likes of New Hall and Peveril, and it is houses, not flats. But yeah, I'm really surprised I never heard of that, never seen it. Whether it's new, they don't look new. It really just looks like a bog standard house. Yeah, private housing. Something new, maybe something for you to consider if you don't want to stay in halls. As you can tell, there's only three types of Clifton accommodation that are like student halls that Nottingham Trent offer, in comparison to a lot more in the city. As you can see, New Hall, a lot more modern. Peveril, some of them have like funky layout. The bathroom is very much like a caravan styled ensuite, but I was still grateful to have an ensuite and not share a bathroom with people, and just a single bed. College Drive, as you can see, it's just a lot more of a bedroom like you'd find at home, double bed, and just very basic. So those are the types of Clifton student accommodations. I'm just going to quickly show the Clifton map actually. So on here you can see all the different types of studying buildings and the libraries, but again the pinky orange buildings are the accommodations. So you've got New Hall, near Clifton Lane. And then you've got Peveril, which is in kind of 2 blocks here, and then like a circle in the middle, which is a little roundabout. And then right in the left-hand corner, as you can see, a little black box says Clifton Village. You've got another pink little houses, which are like H3, H4, and these are College Drive houses. So you've got a couple of houses there. Honestly never knew they were there until looking at this map. So that again hopefully just gives you a little bit of perspective in terms of where each buildings are, but you're still on a campus, so nothing's going to be too far out because it is all within walking distance of one another. Then just moving on to private accommodation, and this took me a little bit of research, but again check the description box for website links for where you can look at private accommodations. And this firstly is for the city. So the websites that I was looking at in terms of private accommodation is Home for Student, Maison Students, and I also recommend going to the Student Housing Fair because that's where I found my accommodation. There's like a list of accredited agencies that the uni approves of and are actually accredited. And then you can find loads of really good deals and offers there too, because my how much rent I paid was like the cheapest I'd heard of. I want to say it was £79 a week. And if you look at the prices that I've already said for student accommodation, it's just none of it is that cheap at all. And it was a really lovely house. But anyway, the housing that I found for private accommodation in the city. So the first couple that I'm going to mention are, I have heard of these and I've seen 2 of them. So the first one is Trinity Square. Trinity Square is £159 per week and it's a 2-minute walk from the city campus. I have seen Trinity Square because my friends on my course actually stayed there, and it's again quite basic student halls. I think they do have a couple of common rooms on each floor, so you've got a couple of sofas and a TV for you to go and sit and chill with people, because you don't really have living rooms in student halls is the common thing that I'm found. There's no living room. But yeah, Trinity Square, I have been there, it's nice. Goldsmith Court is the second one. I've heard of it but never been, and this is in the city centre and it's between £132 up to £225 per week. So obviously a lot more pricier private accommodation in comparison to the first one, especially £225 I think is the most expensive type of accommodation that is on this listing. So don't really know what it is that they offer that's so amazing, but there we go. The third type is Glass House. I live 2 minutes away from Glass House. So if you bear in mind I paid, I think I can't remember, it was 71 or £79 a week. Just bear in mind that price when I read this too, because mine was 2 minutes away. Glass House, if you know Nottingham at all, it's near the big Aldi outside the other end of Victoria Centre. It's a 5-minute walk away from the city centre, from campus that is. And you can get this for £115 to £198 per week. So £115, what you can expect from that is a 6 to 7 bed flat, and then £198, what you can get for that is a 1-bed apartment. So just bear those prices in mind in comparison to, you know, the price I paid for my house, and I found my landlord through the housing fair. So even though I'm giving you a list of websites and names of private accommodations, also really take advantage of that housing fair because there are some really good deals and people to go with there, and recommendations as well from previous students. Then the other types of private accommodation in this city is a place called Orbital, which I hadn't heard of. Doesn't mean anything that I haven't heard of it, doesn't mean that it's bad or good, because there's quite clearly a lot that I hadn't heard of, to be honest with you. I didn't realise there was so much, and there's still a lot that I've missed out. So Orbital is in a place called Canning Circus, never heard of it, and you can get this from about £133 a week to £180 per week. Then you've got a place called Bowman House, which is in Straits Village, no idea. and that's from about £155 to £189 per week. Then you've got Maison Place from £120 per week on Boston Street. You've also got Host Lace Market Studios from £178 per week in the Lace Market. Then the last type that I've put in this clip is Russell View from £128 a week, which is a 10-minute walk away from campus. So those are a couple of private accommodations in the city. Then private accommodation for Clifton, I must admit it was a lot harder to find private accommodation around Clifton campus, because I think the majority of people move from Clifton campus in their first year if they're studying at Clifton and move to the city. Even if you're studying in Clifton, most people move to the city and live in the city and just get the bus to and from the city to Clifton campus in the second and third year. I think it's just for convenience, so you can be a lot closer to the city centre. For nights out, it's a lot more convenience, for food shopping, just for things to do. There really isn't too much going on around Clifton campus, so I think majority of people do move to the city centre in the second and third year. But nevertheless, if you want to stay around Clifton campus, I've included a website called Castia, and on here I found a couple of places. So the first one is called Turney Street, and you can get that place from £135 a week, and it's a 10-minute drive to campus. Most of these are driving distances. I didn't really find any that were walking distances, but perhaps you just need to have a bit more of a search. The second place is called Station Road, and you can get that for £184 a week. That's a 14-minute drive to campus. Then you've got a place called IQ Newton and Newland House from £146 a week, and it's a 10-minute drive to campus. The second to last one is Archer House, and you get that for £136 a week, and it's an 11-minute drive to campus. And the last one I've included for private accommodation is Clarendon Street from £174 a week and 12-minute drive to campus. So they're all within less than 20-minute drive to campus, but like I said, I really did struggle to find private accommodation for Clifton campus because majority of people do move to the city centre. So I hope that has helped, and like I said, a lot of people were asking for private accommodation recommendations for websites and places. For city, there is a lot more information. For Clifton, it's a little harder to come across, but I'm sure if you just research more and perhaps use and ask your university, they can give you more information. The last point for this video is just a little bit about international mature students accommodation. I'll just include this picture, and they do offer studio flats. They can give you recommendations, contract lengths to suit you, and a couple of websites that you can go to if you're a mature student, a postgrad student, or an international student and you want a little bit more information about accommodation. I just found this page and I'll put it here, and hopefully it can help one of you if you're interested. So that is the end of this video. I've been talking for 45 minutes, but I just wanted to make this video as informative as possible, and hopefully this answered a couple of your questions. If you're going to Nottingham Trent University and you're an international student, worried about how to make friends or accommodation, or if you're a national student looking for private accommodation or the best student accommodation to go to and what you can get for your money, I hope this has answered some of your questions. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a big like. Leave me a comment down below if you have any questions about Nottingham Trent University. Hopefully I can answer them there. If not, I shall see you all in my next video. Bye guys.